Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Everything Happens for a Reason podcast. So, I am doing a solo episode today, and I just thought I would have a little bit of a catch up about sort of what's been going on the last 6 months. We are officially in June, which is mental. The fact that we have basically left half of the year already. Absolutely crazy. 6 months into 2025. And yeah, last December, obviously, I moved out to Dubai. So I thought I would spend today talking a little bit about just my experience, how everything's going. Do I see it as long term? Or is it just a temporary sort of location for me, or where the whole situation is currently sitting at? And yeah, I know whenever I was debating moving or like even just leaving the country in general myself years ago, this is the type of video or the type of podcast that I would have been looking for to sort of find that little bit of guidance, especially if you're somebody that has never left your hometown before, or you just don't even know where to sort of be heading. But essentially, for me, where it started is last year, not last year, 2023, I went to Bali, which I've already spoke about. So I went to Bali for a few months, and I really thought that was where I was going to end up sort of locating. I really thought that my plan was to go back home, go back to Ireland, and then from Ireland, essentially head back to Bali in around April time. And yeah, plans changed very, very quickly. So with the likes of Dubai, it was never in my plans. I had a holiday planned here, which got cancelled, and then it got rescheduled and got cancelled again. So I literally took that as a sign, like that is just not where I'm supposed to be, or that is just not where I'm supposed to be going. So I literally took it as that. It was never a place that like stood out to me in any way, actually, which is so weird because I've literally moved my whole life over here now. But yeah, it was never a place that necessarily stood out to me. It was never somewhere that I seen myself living, or even like when I was planning to go on holidays, it wasn't necessarily like, yeah, I was excited about the holiday, but I didn't see the opportunities that were going to come with that. And yeah, all of that turned overnight. You all know Dawn by now. Do you know what I mean? She's probably my main guest on this podcast. And yeah, me and Dawn met at a work event in London. And we literally just got sat beside each other for the conference, however long it was. And we probably exchanged about 5 words. Like I was like, hey, what's your name? Dom, Aiste. That was literally it. And she was actually living in Marbella at the time. She wasn't even living here, but she was already sort of traveling between Dubai and Marbella and stuff like that at the time. And we just exchanged Instagrams, as you do, meeting connections, networking, all of that. And we exchanged Instagrams, and then that was when I left to Bali. Everything was chill. Me and her did not contact each other. We didn't speak, like we weren't friends. And as I was leaving Bali, literally about 2 days before I left Bali, she messaged me going, how long are you still traveling for? And I was like, well, I'm not. I'm heading home now. And this was in mid-January. And she was like, look, I'm back out in Dubai. She was at a little bit of a weird place in her life as well. So like, I'm out in Dubai. I want a friend that's basically able to travel and, works from her laptop and that sort of thing. Come out and see me, like just for a couple of weeks or whatever. And me being the delusional girl that I am, went, okay, booked my flights straight away. I remember me and my other friend Natalia, we were in Bali together. We were sitting in a restaurant and I was like, is this really stupid of me? Should I do it or just like book the flights? Like if you don't like it, you'll come home. And yeah, moving across the world to a cultural place where I had no idea about, never like really considered or nothing like that. And just booked my flights and came out here in February then. So that's how Bali went out the window for me, essentially. I came here, me and Dom obviously clicked. We're literally inseparable now. And yeah, stayed here for 6 weeks. Absolutely loved it. Just like even being away, and I didn't realize how much I loved it until I went back home, and I was like, no, like I am gonna go back. And that's exactly what I did. So I came back here in September last year. I came back in September, and I basically stayed all of September and all of October. And I was on prep at that time. And honestly, it was the best thing that I ever did for myself, was coming out here on prep, because one, it made my life so much easier, just being in my own space and everything else. And also it made me like force myself to be on my own. So Dom was here for about 2 weeks, then she went back to the UK, so she wasn't even here during that time. I was literally completely on my own, so I had no choice but to meet people, communicate with people, like find a life, find a routine here. I couldn't go out, well, I could go out, but obviously I wasn't drinking, I wasn't eating out, I wasn't able to like socialize in how you meet most people, if it was nights out or whatever. And yeah, I just literally took those couple of months and just sat there by myself, made effort to meet girls, and like meet up for coffees, even if it was a very disgusting Americano. Like I had to make that effort, but I feel like that was the best time for me to actually come out here and realize if this is a place that I could live, and I loved it. Like I was on prep, I was exhausted and everything else. My business skyrocketed at that time because I actually put so much of my focus into my business, and that's one thing I will say about Dubai. Dubai is the land of opportunity. Everybody talks about it, okay? But one thing about it, living in Dubai, it is so fast paced, okay? So you literally have two options. You either keep up with it or you get left behind. That's why I see so many people come out here and they're just like, they can't handle it and they go home after a couple of months. And that's completely fine. Like I understand why it's not for everybody. And I am in like very mixed emotions about it as well, to be completely honest, because it skyrocketed my business from the perspective that like it made me open up my eyes to what more I can have, not like materialistic or anything like that, but like what more I can do with my business that I would have never even realized before. I came out here, I started building a team, I started hiring people, like my brand actually started growing. I opened up like different avenues that I'm looking down. Like I'm planning things literally for next summer that I wouldn't even have knew how to plan. And that has just come from me living here, networking with the right people, being surrounded by like-minded people, and being surrounded with people that don't stop at where they believe their potential is. Everybody here is so driven to think that their potential is so much higher. And I'm such a big believer in that. I think you should be always delusional when it comes to your goals, okay? If something feels like it's so far out of reach, be delusional about it. Tell yourself you're gonna achieve it. Even if it's literally the furthest thing from what you can imagine, if it's in your mind, it is there for a reason, okay? And that's one thing that I always like talk about. If you can't stop thinking about something, there's a reason for it. Go after it, go and get it. It might take you 2 months, it might take you 6 months, it might take you 3 years. Doesn't matter. Keep chasing whatever that is at the back of your mind, because that's where everything's gonna flip for you, okay? There's a reason it's in your mind. Take the risk. If it flops, it flops. It doesn't work out, completely fine. Start over. You'll find the next thing. Do you know what I mean? But if there's something that you can't stop thinking about, you need to go after it. You need to make it happen, because that's how you're fulfilling your life purpose and how you're fulfilling something that you're actually passionate about. But I went off on a complete tangent, as I always do whenever I do these episodes on my own. Yeah, so with regards to obviously moving here and like sort of like the whole process behind it was, obviously, as I was traveling, like I came obviously in February, I came in September, October. I just got like a visa that you get essentially on arrival. How long you get it for completely depends on where you're from. I have a Lithuanian passport, so mine's up to 90 days at a time, so which is essentially 3 months. So it worked out really, really well for me. Then the next steps whenever I went home was for me to actually move my life here. Number one priority was going to be my business, okay? You don't have to be a business owner to live out here or anything like that. If you're going into a job, into a field, whatever it is, like it's just looking obviously around for a job, so it's a different avenue. I didn't have to go through that. I am like the owner of my business, essentially. I'm the CEO, so everything sort of ran through me. So it was just a matter of setting up my business here. And then from there, once my business was set up and everything was in place for that side of things, then I had to apply for my like long-term visa. And essentially I got an investor's visa, which gave me 2 years. So that's sort of like setting me up for the next 2 years. And then after that you can sort of reapply again, just depending obviously where you're at or what you're doing. With my visa, I don't actually have to stay here. I only have to show up once every 6 months. Like I have to be in the country. So this is another thing, like you are not locked down here. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like with the UK, it is a wee bit different. It's a lot more difficult or to get a visa elsewhere. here is fairly easy. Like people come and go all the time. Like even for myself, I'll be leaving over the summer. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not tied down to that now. Obviously, if you have a full-time job here where you have to show up to the office or whatever the case is, that's going to be different. But for me, it is quite flexible. I just have to sort of pass through the UAE every 6 months, which is obviously completely fine because this is where I'm spending the majority of my time anyway. But yeah, with regards to, like I said earlier, Dubai is so fast paced. Okay, it is the land of opportunity. It's the best place to meet like-minded people, like networking and everything else. But it is also a lot. Like me coming from where I come from at home, Dungannon, as if anybody knows it, if whoever lives there, coming from there to here is like stepping into a whole different dimension. Okay, everything is different. Like obviously at home things are quite slow, even down to the weather. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's really panicking about anything. Everyone's just sort of going through their usual day-to-day routine. Here it's so hard to adapt to a routine, and like that's one thing I have definitely struggled with since I've been out here, because there's always something on. And when I say there's always something on, I don't mean like you're going on a freaking bender every single night. You know what I mean? We're not 16 anymore. I'm sorry, 18 anymore. But what I mean is like you'll have like events coming up, you'll get opportunities to network with different people, or like collaborations and stuff like that. It's very popular for that here. And like if you want to get your brand or your name out there, like it is important that you make all of those events, especially out here. And it is a lot. It's like you'll get last minute opportunities all the time, and it's like finding that routine, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for it, but that is probably the biggest like shock that I had to my system. Like at home I was like a robot. It's like this is when I wake up, this is where I train, when I train, this is like my working hours or whatever. I have my dinner, I take the dog for a walk, I go to bed and read my book. That's my day done. Do you know what I mean? Here it's completely different. Don't get me wrong, for the grand scheme of things I have a consistent routine. Like I'm waking up, having my breakfast, whatever, I go train. I come back from train, start doing my messages, etc, etc. Like in the grand scheme of things I do have that sort of structure and routine, but it's very easy for something to crop up in terms of that, to almost like break it up. So that's probably the main difference that I noticed. Obviously to live out here, it's not cheap, which is probably the question that everybody has. Like how much money do you spend living in Dubai? Look, you're gonna spend as much as you are essentially willing to spend. Do you know what I mean? Like if you are coming out here and just being stupid and like planning to go out all the time and just like fall into that flashy mindset whilst you're over here, you're gonna drain your bank account. Like it's just as simple as that. If you come out here and live by your means and live the same way that you did at home, you're gonna be just fine. Do you know what I mean? Like yes, of course it's not cheap. Like rent is a lot more expensive than it would be back home, a lot more expensive. But this is the thing, like you have to look at where you're living as well, and then like compensates in other areas too. Fuel, for example, if you get a car here, fuel is ridiculously cheap compared to back home. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you win some, you lose some. But yeah, it's very easy to spend money here because there's so much to do. And like obviously going out for food and coffees and stuff like that, like you can essentially go out for coffee and easily spend a tenner. Like it is sort of normal over here. But again, like I said, it's how you live, and you live by your means. Like if you want to be smarter about it and save some money, you can be. If you don't and you want to live the high life, like you can as well. So like it's the same sort of financial situation. Like I'm not going to beat around the bush. It is more expensive, of course it is. It is the city of wealth essentially. Do you know what I mean? But that's only going to drive you to work a little bit harder. And like that's one thing I really find here is like the hustle and bustle mentality is fucking crazy, and it's really good to be around, but it's also hella toxic to be around because like you don't switch off here. If you ask me what I've seen of Dubai in the last 6 months, like I could name you about 3 things, and yeah, that's maybe like a couple of beach clubs that I've been to at the weekends. I went to Abu Dhabi for a night, and that's really it. Do you know what I mean? Like, see all the touristy places and like the high life that you see on social media, it's not like that when you actually live here. Okay, I don't live a holiday. It is not a holiday for me out here. I work more here than I ever did back home, and that's just the reality of it. Like once I start work, I don't switch off till like midnight, 1 a.m, and that's just normal. Do you know what I mean? And with that being said, like I said, it's amazing because it has pushed me to do so much more with my business, but it's also so toxic because when you switch off, you feel super guilty. And because everybody around you is constantly doing that, like you'll go out for a nice like lunch or a dinner, for example, you'll see a table next to you dressed up in suits, everybody's like on their phones texting, sending emails, one has their laptop out. It's just normal. It's part of people's day-to-day routine. You're in a taxi, you know, you're responding to messages, it doesn't stop. Like, so for me, what I really have struggled with here is finding that sort of like healthy balance of like, okay, I'm in my 20s, I'm 25, I need to live my fucking life, do you know what I mean? But how do I do that when I know, like in the back of my mind, like I'm building a brand, I'm building something for myself, and I want it to be successful? It's like, okay, do I give this my 100% or do I give this my 100%? And realistically, look, that's just going to lead to burnout. And downtime is the one thing that people say like will only excel you as a person and stuff like that. So like you have to find a happy medium when it comes to both of those avenues. So like have your work structured, but maybe give yourself a full Saturday where you can actually go out and enjoy the city. You know, like I think that's so important. And like I notice when I do that, when I actually switch off, like everything starts like rolling again comfortably. Do you know what I mean? Like last Thursday night, and like bear in mind, see if there's anything on after like 6-7 p.m. in the evenings or something like that, I'm like, no, like I'm not going to that because that's my work block. Like I need to be at home and sitting working. And like at the end of the day, I started my own business for freedom. Like that was my whole reason behind it. I started my own business to get out of that 9 to 5, to have freedom, to be able to travel, to be able to like work around my own hours. So if I wanted to take 2 hours off in the afternoon, I can. Do you know what I mean? That is why I started a business. But the trap that I've fallen into now is that downtime that I told myself that I'm going to take those 2 hours out of my day to relax or go grab a coffee. I feel guilty if I take 20 minutes off because I'm not working. So it's that toxic mindset. And like I am fully aware of that. I am the one that needs to work on that and find that happy medium. But like last Thursday, work was quieter and I was like, you know what, forget. Me and the girls went to a breathwork class, and see when I came out of that, I was like, that was so fucking nice, like to do something like that on a Thursday night. And don't get me wrong, it's not something I'm going to be doing every single week, but it was like breaking up the routine and like actually making it really, really nice to live here. Because I came onto my social media a few weeks ago and I talked about how like I love Dubai, I'm so grateful to be living here, but I miss grass. Like I just want to see a park. Do you know what I mean? Like just the simple things in life. And I was getting really, really fed up with it. Like I couldn't wait to go home. Now I know as soon as I go home, like a couple of weeks in, I'll want to leave again. But I was just in that sort of headspace where I just wanted to get out. I wanted to leave. Like everything was just feeling like too much. It was too chaotic. And yeah, I just realized that it was because I wasn't slowing down. My whole world, like the reason that I started to like fall out of love with the city, with Dubai, wasn't because that I didn't love living here. It was simply because I wasn't living here. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like I was living here. My routine was the same as it was whenever I was back home and essentially miserable. It was the exact same, but multiplied by 1,000, because I just like kept hyper fixated on work. And taking that one evening off made me realize like, no, like this is what it's about. Like there's such a wholesome side to Dubai that I absolutely love. Like, so for example, yesterday me and Dom literally got onto bikes, rented bikes, and cycled up and down the beach, and it was the most wholesome activity ever. Like it was so nice. And I forget about things like that, and then whenever I do small things like that, like literally took an hour out of my day, which we all have an hour for, do you know what I mean, especially at the weekend, took an hour out of my day, and it made me realize that I fucking love it here. Like I love the lifestyle, I love the fact that the sun's shining every day, I love that everybody's hustling. Like it's motivating in that sense, do you know what I mean? But it's not getting like too hyper fixated on it or just interlocked with it essentially. And that's all it's about. Like that's literally all that it comes down to when it comes to that side of things. But yeah, so if you are considering essentially moving here, that's just like my personal experience. And do I see myself living here full time or in the long term? I really struggle with questions like this. I really struggle to sort of answer that because I don't know where I see myself in the long run. But at the minute, like, I don't think I'll be here in like 15-20 years. Like, I don't think so. I think the time of my life that I've actually come here was perfect for me. This is like, because this is my time where I'm independent, I'm enjoying my independence, I'm enjoying being alone, and like my number one priority is growing my business and growing my brand. And this was the perfect place to do that. So it was definitely the right time for me. But am I gonna be here in a few years' time? I don't know yet. Like I don't know if I'll sort of settle into that. Now, when I say that, I'm the type of person that like I'm running away from something, but I don't know what I'm running away from. Like I'm never gonna go back to Ireland. Like living out here has made me realize that if it's not here, it'll be somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? It's just finding that for me. But like I'm not gonna go home to Ireland essentially. So I do know that much, but at the minute, like this is where I'm settled for the time being. Like I said, I'm leaving for the summer. I'm going back to Ireland. I'll be going to Lithuania, and then I think my plan after that is actually go back to Bali for a bit. I feel like Bali calls you when you need it, and I feel like it's calling me again. So we're going back to Bali, and then I'll come back here and obviously sort of settle back in. But just like I said, at the minute, my independence is so high that I can do anything that I want to do. So it's nice in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nice that I have that flexibility, but all of that could literally change overnight. So I don't know to essentially answer that question. But like whenever I look back, did I ever imagine myself living here? No, but I will never forget it. And like I said, like I like to run from things. I was going through like a really tough time at home, and I remember I was sitting in a cafe. Like this was years ago, by the way. Like I would say like 4 years ago, 4 years ago. I was sitting in a cafe, and I was like, I just want to get out of here. I want to get out of here. How am I gonna get out of here? And I remember looking for apartments here. I don't know why. Like my job was definitely not stable enough to even like afford an apartment here. But like whenever I think back to that, I'm like, everything fucking happens for a reason. Like you speak everything into existence. Whatever that little moment of weakness was for me, where I was looking for apartments and looking at how to actually move here. And that's what I mean. Like I was listening to podcasts on, oh, what's life like in Dubai? What do people do in Dubai? Do you know what I mean? Like Dubai, I didn't know anything about here, absolutely anything. But yeah, and then I forgot about it. It fizzled out of my head, and obviously I just stayed settled back home for the few years until I was like, no, I need to go, and I went to Bali. Like I said, Bali calls us whenever it needs us. Okay, went to heal. But yeah, it's freaking mad. Like I always, obviously the name of the podcast is Everything Happens for a Reason, and I always speak about how you speak everything into existence. And I feel like those little thoughts, like if that's in the back of your mind, if you're thinking about something, it's because you need to make it happen. And whatever little, I don't know, like 20-year-old delusional Aiste was thinking at the time, like Dubai was way out of reach for me. Okay, like there was not a chance I would have been able to make a life for myself here with where I was at in my life at that time. But whatever delusion was in my head, I fucking activated it. And yeah, 4 years later, I moved. Was it 4 years later? Yeah, because I turned 25 here essentially. 4 years later, I ended up moving, and it's not even something I even visualized for myself. It was like everything just fell into place. Like if I didn't go to Bali, I always think back to this, and like again going back to the name, everything happens for a reason. If I didn't go to Bali, I would have never left the sort of toxic environment I was in at home, which I needed to get away from. And then if I didn't go to Bali, essentially, I wouldn't have made the decision or had the comfort to move across the world by myself. Do you know what I mean? Like me meeting people out there and just being more comfortable with interacting with people, I would have never actually moved or like even came out to visit Dom at that time. And then from there, do you know what I mean? Like learning that independence, going back, it just all made everything fall into place and made me realize where I was sitting at. But yeah, it's absolutely mental whenever I think about it from that side of things. Like it does really all like work out the way it's meant to. And you know, I'm a believer that your life path is sort of drawn out for you in that sense, and things are going to flop and things are going to come up that you just simply don't want. But yeah, we're all moving forward with it. But I hope you find this episode helpful, and of course, if you are debating, I really do hope that this has sort of put like things into perspective for you a little bit more. But thank you so much for listening, and yeah, I'll catch up with you all next Wednesday.